Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophia, pilot into the University of Chinese. Let's continue our year-end special edition about the top of mind Chinese language expressions. So it could be a single word or expression. In today's case, it's 四不青年. It's a 4-character formation that in the past I never seen it. I think it only occurred in 2023. Okay, as an overview, Chinese in the recent several decades have a habit of summarizing their catchphrase. It's almost like a comparable to the English 10 commandments. You don't have to specify which 10. People know what they're talking about. So use a number 10 and give you commandments, and you know the sources. You don't have to list out everything. So Chinese have a habit of using a number. Okay, so in President Jiang's age, he used 3 representatives. So 3. And then in Xi's age, he used 2. What is that? 2个维护. Okay, 2 maintaining or 2 defenses. So he wants to be in this defensive position, defend his core of the party, himself as the core of the party, and the party is a core of the country. So that's his, visioning of how this country is organized. And in 四不青年is people's voice here. People summarize 4 things we're saying no. And they're talking about this childbearing age people. Young years, 青年 are Chinese way to say young people, because in relative, they are young. And we have 四不青年. Okay, so basically saying no to 4 different major life choices. Okay, so Chinese way to say 4, we have 1, 2, 3, or in horizontal. And when it comes to 4, it probably becomes too much horizontal. So Chinese draw it vertically. So this is a vertical drawing and connected into one frame. That's Chinese 4. And 不 is a negation. And we have seen this a lot, so I'm not going into it. 青年, 青 is the color that's between blue and green. Okay, so color wheel, color theory was a recent thing. So that color can be theorized into color groups, right? So the whole color wheel, how things are positioned, and also through the physics of light, how color was perceived was later, discovered. In ancient China, there was no this, knowledge about color wheel. So Chinese would, probably each color, each culture perceive color and notify color in their language, in their own ways. So in a sense, every culture probably have their localized color palettes and have their localized expression of color. In Chinese perception, this bluish, greenish color, both of them are called qing. So it depends on what you, what's the context. So in my eyes, qing can be qingshan, mountain color. And it could be like a kind of a misty mountain color. When mountains are recessing from your perception, the colors get, darker and darker. And it could be water color as well. So it could be both mountain water. But in any case, qing is the color in nature. And eventually Chinese capture that color into their palette, into their paintings, into their makeup, right? And in this case, young years, I translate as young, because qing, this color of greenish, bluish color, can be used to denote kind of green, like in English corresponding to green. Chinese, English use green to notify somebody is new, somebody is young, right? So same logic, Chinese use qing, bluish, greenish color to mean somebody is still on the green color palette before they turn golden, before they turn, I mean, I guess that observation of seasonal change of colors, a palette representing how the life stages of things is kind of universal, because I mean, plants kind of grow the same way all over the globe. So Chinese observe qing is on the young side, so that's young. And years have this crop symbol and carried over. I mean, this is a little bit abstract. It's hard to see, but according to scholars, this is somebody is carrying crops on their back. So it's harvesting. And I guess that's the happy time of the year, because you may plant all your seeds and the crops for the year, but really agriculture, it's a risky business because you are living under the tyranny or the uncertainty of weather conditions. If it's going to flood that year, if you're going to have a drought that year, it's undeterminable. All you can do is to put in the work, put in the efforts. When it's spring, you plant the seeds and you do all year's work. And when it finally comes to the year end, you can harvest. And that is a happy time. So I would imagine people, when they see they carry the crops, on their back, that's like, okay, yes, we nail it this year. And it's a signifier of the year end because you have your crop. So 四不青年, young years means youth, young people. And it means people who are saying no to date, saying no to marriage, saying no to own a property, to buy a house. I mean, housing crash, you can see why, partially, right? And say no to have children. Demographic collapse, I mean, that's too dramatic probably. Demographic decline in China. We have a very low fertility rate. So 1.1 is the neutral. No, sorry, 2.1 is a neutral. So one woman have 2.1 on average nationwide. Then your population comes in and out, kind of continuous. It's flat change, it's stable. But if you're below 2.1, the replacement, the newer generation is getting thinner and thinner. Well, you have an aging population, right? That's the way how things go. So now in China, with this mentality, this is like the response to the living conditions right now over there. And many people buy into this 四不, 4 no's. These are the 4 things they're not going to do. They're not going to have a relationship. They're not going to be a house owner. And they're not going to have their offspring. This last one is huge because Chinese culture really guilt trip young people if they choose not to have children. Chinese has an expression like the familial responsibility 孝. So if your proof, your ultimate proof to show that you're a good child to your parents is to have your own child. You're going to pass your lineage down. That's your responsibility, like the number one thing. Because that's the kind of minimum requirements, right? You can make however much achievements otherwise, but this is something you can do. This is the minimum requirements, right? So if you don't have your own children, that's the biggest, betrayal of your parents, the biggest disappointment to your parents. So that's a huge guilt thing right there. And nowadays in 2023, people are having this 4 no's bundled together, not to have children. Imagine that. So this is what's happening in the mindset of the young people. Their choice is like really minimum. I translate, probably is not as polite of my translation, but I want to show you this contrast of this is a lifestyle choice. And this is a non-living lifestyle choice because you're the end of the line. If you make such choice, you're not going to have your children. And without the children, I mean, yes, you can enjoy your life or build your life however you want, but then there's no next chapter after you. So you're kind of the end of the lineage. And that's according to Chinese, that's a huge thing, right? It's almost like you're passing through life without a trace eventually. Like you're gone, that's it. There's nobody, you're out of the generic pool, basically. And I call it a non-living lifestyle. If I have to summarize what this attitude is about, it's really living through life by not living. I mean, living probably in the traditional sense of living, right? And that's the steps like all cultures expect the young people to do, right? You have to consume, you have to date, you have to eventually have your children. And the whole process of that is negated by this attitude of this group of people call themselves 四不青年. And I'm using this picture to show the loner, supposedly it's a girl too, right? Walking down the city streets with all that neon lights. I mean, neon lights just represent commercialism, right? Corporate all over create this, and there's nobody else in there, and she walking alone without anybody. And I guess it is a computer generated image to capture that mood. And I hope it can sort of do a representation of this 四不青年, what their choice, what their standing is. They really choose not. It's like opt out of lifestyle as defined by the tradition. All right, cash into the currency of thinking by One Word a Day with Sophie.